and the president's betrayal of our democracy. Today, Democrats are introducing a resolution to condemn the president's failure to stand up to Putin for his attacks on our elections, on our democracy. We call on Republicans, give them another chance, to join us to defend our democracy from the Russian threat. I'm very proud of the leadership of our national security committees. Ranking Member Schiff on intelligence has been an outspoken person for a very long time, an outspoken leader, reaching out to the Republicans, reaching out to the country to point out the dangers that this president's attitude is presenting to our country. On the Foreign Affairs Committee, Ranking Member Engel has been substantive and thorough. The two of them have put together a resolution. I thank Mr. Engel for his leadership on this subject, which has been long ongoing. His experience as a long-term leader on the Foreign Affairs Committee prepares him well to give a perspective to our colleagues, to the Congress, to this country, as the danger this president is putting forth. And now with that, I'm pleased to yield to the distinguished ranking member on the Intelligence Committee, Mr. Schiff.
Thank you, Madam Leader. The resolution that we are introducing today not only discusses the president's performance at Helsinki, but of equal importance, the year and a half that led us to this point. The Helsinki summit really brought to a head an entirely new and destructive direction that Donald Trump would bring this country, a direction in which we shun fellow democracies, in which we castigate our NATO allies, in which we make common cause with authoritarian governments around the world, and in which we embrace a Russia which has intervened in our own election and effectively invite them to intervene again. This resolution sets out the United States' proud record of support for democratic governments around the world, our championing of democracy and human rights, and how much that proud policy, a policy that led us to fight 2 world wars, to make the world safe for democracy, to defeat authoritarianism and fascism, is being challenged by this new direction, this destructive direction by Donald Trump. So yes, Helsinki brought our attention, our focus to the president's complicity with Vladimir Putin, his willingness to look the other way, to ignore a nation's interference in our democratic affairs. But it caps off a year and a half of making common cause with autocrats around the world, and with putting down our European allies, our Canadian allies, our Australian allies, our democratic allies, and indeed democracy in favor of this new affinity for authoritarianism. That is what we condemn in this resolution, and that is what we hope our colleagues will join us in co-sponsoring. And I'm now proud to yield to the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Eliot Engel.
Well, thank you, Adam, and I want to thank the Leader Pelosi, and Adam Schiff for working with me on this resolution. You know, the first part of the resolution says it all. It says affirming the United States' commitment to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and condemning President Donald Trump's failure to confront Vladimir Putin for Russia's election interference. I mean, that just really says it all. At the end of World War II, NATO has been since World War II, NATO has been the hallmark of American foreign policy. Through Democratic and Republican presidents, through Democratic and Republican Congresses, we all got together and embraced NATO. We have a president, unfortunately, who not only wants to destroy NATO, who insults our allies, who tries to rip NATO in half, but he then cozies up to Vladimir Putin, the man who interfered with American democracy, the man who interfered in our election. It's like Alice in Wonderland. It's turned reality on its side. So we are calling on all members of Congress, Democratic and Republican, to co-sign this resolution with us, Resolution 1008, to say that we actually want to condemn what was done. I sat by my television and I was flabbergasted when I saw that meeting and what the president was saying after the meeting with Putin. So we want to make sure that this is that our colleagues join us, and we are also calling the three of us for Pompeo, Mattis, Coates, and Haspel to come to the House and speak to the Congress. We have a situation where Secretary of State Pompeo is coming to the Senate tomorrow to talk to them ostensibly about what went on in Helsinki, but there's no such meeting or hearing or even just coming together with us here in the House. That's unacceptable, and it's dangerous. And so it makes you scratch your head to say it's like Alice in Wonderland. Everything's been turned upside down and on its side. What the president has been doing has been dangerous, and we want to reaffirm the strength of the NATO alliance, which has kept the world free and which has kept us free and kept us as leaders of the free world. We're not about to turn over our posture as leaders of the free world over to a thug like Vladimir Putin. And finally, we want to know what went on in the meeting where Putin and Trump were alone. Why can't we have know what happened there? Why wasn't anybody allowed to be there? You know, it makes you wonder, what does Putin have on Donald Trump? Is there something that he has on Donald Trump? I don't know, but I can't think of any other reason to have a meeting with the two of them alone. No one's telling us what went on in the meeting. He's inviting Putin back, and your guess is as good as mine. That's not acceptable in a democracy, and so we think that this resolution is a long time coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Engel. Any questions?
Madam Leader.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. What about, though, there might be some in your party, especially moderates, who represent districts where President Trump is popular, who might say, we hear you, what you're saying, and you're concerned about what was said in Helsinki, but this could be a tough vote because they are having to stand for election. Does this put some of those moderates in swing districts, and why not?
No, let me just say this, because this will be self-serving to say this, but I have the first leader in person to become leader and speaker in the House on the Democratic or the Republican side of the aisle in modern time, to come to this position with a national security credential. Others have had their expertise in other areas, but over nearly 25 years of experience on the Intelligence Committee. It is important for us to put politics aside. This is about the security of the United States of America. It's about our national security, and our foreign policy, which is about keeping America strong militarily, advancing our economy, and promoting our values. What the president is doing undermines much of those three pillars of our foreign policy. And from the standpoint that I bring to the perspective I bring with nearly 25 years of experience as a member, as the ranking member, and ex officio on intelligence, this is a very important and pivotal moment for our country. We cannot appear to endorse what the president is doing by our silence or our political whatever it is in somebody's district. So I doubt the Republicans will allow this to come to a vote. All we're saying to them is do something. Protect our country. Honor your oath of office. It's so sad that this happened in Helsinki, because that's a place where President Ford in 1975 was a principal in the agreement that was reached in Helsinki for the Helsinki Commission that was about economy in in Europe, the human rights in Europe, confronted the Russians on refuseniks and the rest of that. And now the president goes to that very same place and unravels all of the values, all of the strength, all of the greatness of America. Because, as our ranking member Engel has said, what do the Russians have on Donald Trump? Politically, personally, or financially? Whatever it is, it's blackmail we cannot afford as a country, as a democracy, as a leader in the world. So this isn't about politics. It's so much bigger than Democrats and Republicans. This is about the oath that we take, the unity that we have all had that Mr. Engel referenced, and the disgraceful performance of the President of the United States. I think we have like 2 questions because we have our meeting. I'm sorry, we're supposed to be 5 o'clock, but all the planes were late coming in, so that's why Mr. Schiff could only stay a short while and go.
Madam Leader, you said that you doubt Republicans will bring this to the floor. Do you they'll
accept it on the floor. We'll see if they accept it on the floor. But that doesn't mean we won't put it forth. And let's just see. Let's just see who they're here for.
And when do you plan to try to...
Well, that's up to the committees of jurisdiction. Yes, ma'am.
I was hoping you could react to the White House's calls to revoke the security clearances of former Obama national security officials.
Did you want to speak to that? I wish that This is so fun. Let me just say...
It goes from the ridiculous to the sublime.
As I said, I have standing on these issues. I have been in the meetings for over 20 years. This is so extraordinary. The last thing you want in intelligence is partisanship. And we were able to avoid that for such a long time. And now the president is what? I mean, does this rise to the level of abuse of power? I want to see what some of the people he's taking it away from don't even have it. So doesn't even know what he's talking about. But this makes the case. This makes the case. We are the first branch of government, the legislative branch. We have views that need to be respected. We have decisions that we must make. As Mr. Engels said, we need to know what happened in Helsinki. And the president's response, I'm going to take the classified security privileges of some Obama people away. It's all a deflection. It's all a deflection. What we would have hoped we could be talking about is for the people. Better jobs, better pay, better future, that we could be seriously addressing healthcare costs, prescription drug costs. Instead, the president is advancing initiatives in the courts and the executive branch to eliminate the benefit of no pre-existing condition being a barrier to access to care. So we want to take this back to what it means in the lives of the American people. But in the meantime, the urgency of us acting in a bipartisan way to say to the president, John McCain, Trump's behavior in Helsinki was one of the most disgraceful performances by an American president in memory. With all due respect, Chad, don't ask me how this plays in somebody's district. This is about the United States of America, the oath we take. So this again, we'd rather be having a legitimate debate about, Mr. President, you said you were going to have a $1 trillion infrastructure plan. Where is it? We want to work with you in a bipartisan way to do it. That's usually a nonpartisan initiative. You said you were going to negotiate like crazy to lower prescription drugs. You were going to enable the secretary to negotiate like crazy. Apparently, like crazy means not at all. The minute he made his statement, pharmaceutical drug stocks soared because he let them off the hook. And why? The American people think a lot of it is about money. Money in politics, money that may have changed hands when it came to the President of the United States and his borrowing from Russia. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just want to make one final comment, and that is, our resolution talks about the degree to which this president has departed from our historic support for fellow democracies, departed from America as a champion of liberal democracy. And what the Russians did was not just an attack on our election. What they have been doing is attacking the very idea of liberal democracy around the world. And increasingly, people around the world who look to America as that champion don't recognize what they see in this White House. And today's action, suggesting that we will punish critics of the president by stripping them of their security clearance, that is not what you see in a democracy. That is exactly what you see in authoritarian regimes. And we couldn't have a more timely proof of why this resolution is necessary than what I consider despicable action, and that is to try to silence critics by affecting their potential livelihood, by affecting other presidents in the future ability to tap the expertise of people who've dedicated their lives to protecting this country, to talk about stripping clearances from people who have spent decades in the military and in the intelligence community serving our country because the president doesn't like what they have to say. And make no mistake, that's the only thing this is about, is a cowardly action of someone who is afraid of criticism. And we need to stand up to it. And the people in this building, Democrats and Republicans, and especially Republicans, need to wake up and speak up on behalf of our democracy. Thank you.
Well, the only thing that I would add is that I'm going to speak to as many colleagues as I can, both Democrats and Republicans, to urge them to sign on. This should not be a partisan fight. This isn't done for partisan reasons. The NATO alliance has been the foundation of our democracy around the world since the end of World War II. And the president goes around flying by the seat of his pants, insulting our friends in Canada, in Germany, in the UK, and embracing Putin, who interfered in our election. And tell me what's wrong with this picture. Thank you.
And by the way, just to add one thing, we started by putting on the floor the statement of the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. He made a very fine statement following Helsinki, critical of the president and speaking to our NATO alliance. That's all we put on the floor, and the Republicans 100% voted down the Speaker's words. What could have been more, shall we say, reaching out together to find common ground than to advance the Speaker's? Now, since then, the president has made matters worse, necessitating a stronger resolution. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.